Thank you guys for joining us today. It means a lot to have you here to support our veterans. We are so excited to unveil our Got Your Six initiative. It is a campus-wide initiative for faculty and staff to support student veteran success. Today, you are going to learn how this training and this program can help ease the transition challenges that our veterans face when returning home and when they move into the classroom. You will hear from our student veteran panel and faculty how this initiative will benefit students and how it will benefit faculty and staff here on campus. And you will learn how you can earn the Got Your Six designation and how that will help bridge the military-civilian divide. And you're going to learn a little bit about what that means in a few minutes. So if you're ready, we're going to get started. Oh, by the way, I'm Missy Anderson, Shoreline Veterans Program Coordinator. This is Rosemary Whiteside, Veterans Program Advisor, and we're going to introduce our panel in a little bit.
Okay, I just want to mirror what Missy said, and thank you so much for being here and showing support to our veterans here on campus. So, Got Your Six, what does that mean? Got Your Six is a phrase that originated during World War I. It's an aviation term. It was used by pilots to reference direction. So, 12 o'clock would be in front of you if you were in a plane. 6 o'clock would be behind you. So the phrase Got Your Six means I've got your back. I'm watching out what's happening behind you. And we picked that term because we wanted it to be a term familiar to our student veterans. So if they saw Got Your Six on campus, they would know what that meant. And I think they do. So the Got Your Six campaign, some of you may be familiar with the LGBT Safe Zones campaign, and it was an effort to educate people on campuses about LGBT issues and then create safe zones on campus, people that folks in that community felt comfortable going to and talking to. So we're doing something very similar with Got Your Six. We are going to be providing a variety of trainings that faculty and staff can participate in. You'll learn more about student veterans, about transition issues, about some of the challenges that they bring with them when they come to our campus, and many of the strengths that they bring as well. Once you've participated in those trainings, you can then identify yourself as a Got Your Six person. And we'll have various emblems and posters and things that you can share in your office spaces. You can put on your syllabus if you'd like. Lots of ways to identify yourself so that those students will know who you are and where you are. And one of the reasons we're doing this, we have a very active Veteran Resource Center that Missy oversees, and we have a number of work study students who are veterans themselves that work there. It's a tremendous source of support for our students, but we want to spread that support. We want a lot of people on campus to know about our veterans and be able to offer that support as well, so that it's not just concentrated in one office on campus. So we've mentioned today a couple of times the military-civilian divide, and we want to just play a short clip that explains a little bit about what that is.
Here's America, and here are 100 dots representing 100% of the population. At any time, about 30% of the population has been considered eligible to fight on behalf of the country based on a shifting definition, but that number has been surprisingly stable. Here is the portion of Americans that served in the Revolution. And here's how many Americans served in the Civil War and World War I. World War II was our peak at 17%, over half of the likely eligible population. During Vietnam, fewer served. Today, the portion of Americans who served in the global war on terror, America's longest war, mostly in Afghanistan and Iraq, is down to less than 1%. So where are we now? Civilians and the military are simply getting further apart. While 76% of Americans over 65 say an immediate family member served, the same is only true for 33% of 18 to 29-year-olds. And military service is becoming concentrated in fewer families. 79% of veterans have an immediate family member who served. Fewer of our leaders served than ever before, and none of the year's presidential candidates served. But having less veterans isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's a direct consequence of ending the draft. which was a great idea for all sorts of reasons, from moral objections to involuntary service, to arguments economists made like average skill of soldiers and the cost of training. And the death toll of war has dropped dramatically around the world, so fewer soldiers are needed. But of course, there are consequences. Veteran populations feel misunderstood and unappreciated. Stereotypes of veterans as either heroes or ticking time bombs dominate the media. And while phrases like "thank you for your service" and "we support our troops" are everywhere, for many veterans, this feels like a deflection rather than real recognition. Let's face it, most people don't think a whole lot about the men and women who fight our wars. During the 27 years of the draft, the military was deployed 19 times. In the years since, it's been deployed 144 times. And the burdens of these wars are shouldered on that ever narrower group of Americans, while the consequences of our modern war machine feel ever further from the rest of us. This video was produced in partnership with Veterans Coming Home, who are digging deeper into the civilian-military divide. Learn more at veteranscominghome.org.
Okay, so the military-civilian divide, that's just sort of a demonstration of how wide that divide is. The reality is that because so few members of our community are serving in the service at this point in time, many of us may not know a single service member. We may not know a single veteran. So there's a lot of us that just don't really understand what that is all about. And what does it mean for our students? It means they're pretty isolated. They may not know any other veterans in their classes. None of their instructors might be veterans. So they might feel isolated or misunderstood. And a result of that is a sense of not belonging particularly. So if they don't feel that sense of belonging, we know that they're less likely to stay on campus and complete their degrees. So who are our student veterans? These are numbers from the 15-16 school year. So we had a total of 384 military-connected students, 301 veterans, and then a number of dependents, and then also active duty service members and reservists. The numbers in terms of gender, 70% male, 30% female. That's been pretty steady the whole time that I've been here. In total, 4% of the Shoreline student population. In terms of age, our student veterans tend to be older. As you can see, 65% of them are over age 25. And in terms of what they're studying, the breakdown is about 60% pursuing transfer degrees and 40% pursuing prof tech degrees. Engineering, nursing, business, international studies are some of our most popular majors. Health occupations, music technology, manufacturing, and automotive are some of our most popular prof tech programs. And without further ado, the best part of today is getting to introduce you to our student veteran panel and let them tell you about their experiences leaving the military, coming to Shoreline, and being part of our campus.
So I'm just going to ask each of you to, again, tell us your branch of service, what you did in the military, where you served, anything else you'd like to share with us. And go ahead, Steve.
All right. My name is Stephen Marin. I was a student here for past 3 years. I just graduated in spring. And now I'm currently at University of Washington, Bothell. I was in the Marine Corps. I worked on aircraft while I was in the Marine Corps for 5 years. And I was in charge of at least 15 to 30 people at any given time, ensuring safety on aircraft. I served in multiple locations within the U.S. and mostly in Southeast Asia.
My name is Nathan Grimm with the Marine Corps. I did 6 years active. I'm currently in the Marine Corps Reserve for the last 2 years. I was a machine gunner in the infantry for those 6 years active. I'm now with Motor T, Motor Transportation, driving trucks in the reserves. I have served mostly over in the West Pacific. I was stationed down in Southern California in 29 Palms, and I have been in charge of more people than I can count half the time when it comes down to it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jake Powell. I've been a student at Shoreline for about a year now. I had a very quick transition from the military lifestyle to becoming a student. I spent 10 years in the Marine Corps. I was an infantry squad leader, I have 4 deployments total, 3 of them being combat to Afghanistan. And just so you guys know, I'm completely open to whatever questions you want to ask me. So if there's anything that you might feel like, okay, that might be a little too pushy, it's probably not. I'm very open about everything, and I'm more than happy to be here and talking to you guys about the issues that we face here. I did not have any college experience before coming here, so I had like an idea of what college was when before I got here, and then coming here and seeing what it actually was a huge adjustment for me. And some of the teachers here that I've had, you guys are great. You've worked with me and have done more than your share to help me out. But for the most part, that's me, and please feel free to ask questions.
Good morning. My name is Manley Smith. I was a hospital corpsman, a medic with the Marines basically for 95% of my career, which was 6+ years. I spent time in Okinawa, Camp Pendleton. I was in charge of quite a few people. My biggest pleasure, though, was taking care of the Marines. And after I got out, I didn't realize how much I missed it. It was a completely different world for me, coming to the civilian sector and realizing that because I didn't have any credentials or anything, that I couldn't do anything that I did before, which was sick call and numerous other things, pushing meds and whatnot. And so my first thing to do was, work in construction, because that's what I knew growing up. Well, I hurt my knee, and then I couldn't do that, so I realized, I got to go back to what I know, what I liked, and that was working at family practice. I was lucky enough that a lot of the stuff I did do in the military did transfer over to, like a CNA, CMA, and I did that for 3 years, and I realized that it wasn't quite the same, and it was a rough transition just in that perspective. Like, going from sick call to now just taking vital signs. You can't triage. You can't even really talk to a patient that comes in, a concerned mom, whatnot, working in family practice. I decided then that I'd go to school, and that was pretty tough. But coming to that realization was a good thing for me. I came into it a little more prepared than I thought I would be. But I realized once I got into the environment, kind of like just what these videos said, I really did feel isolated. Even though during the in-doc process, they talked about, the VRC is here for you if you need it. It seemed like maybe it was just too much information at first. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's good to go. I'm just going to go to my classes now. And as I went to my classes, I got really frustrated with like a lot of the younger peers, because I started from the ground zero, I was like Math 70, and that was a bit of a wake-up call going to that. I thought, for sure, I can handle this, go right into Math 99, no problem. Yeah, no, that didn't happen. So I don't want to go too much into it because I'm sure we'll cover more topics, but yeah. So that's about it right there.
Give you a minute to gather yourself. My name is Adrienne McGrath, and I am actually faculty here at Shoreline. I teach in biology. I've been here at Shoreline since 2010, but I served in the U.S. Army in the 90s primarily. I was an MI linguist, so they sent me to language school at Monterey, California. And I was stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I ended up being a paratrooper, and that was very interesting. And in a military intelligence battalion that was attached to the Airborne Division. And for a while I was also working in aviation, worked in Black Hawk helicopters, which was also very enjoyable. I enjoyed that very much. Yeah. Jumping out of Black Hawks is much more enjoyable than jumping out of an airplane, I'll tell you what. And I also had an opportunity to be an EMT and a squad leader. I was in charge of numerous soldiers as well. And when I was ready to transition out of the military, I did it kind of slowly. I actually started going to night school while I was still in active duty. And there were some colleges nearby where I was stationed that actually specialized in helping soldiers transition and meeting their needs, and also taking a lot of military training as credits, as transfer credits, which was really helpful. And then when I was in the process of transitioning out during 9/11, actually in a resume workshop when the towers fell. I remember that quite clearly. So I ETS'd, which is getting out of the military, actually that December, and fortunately did not have to go into that particular war zone. So my experience of being in the military, in the Army, and I really enjoy being a faculty member here at Shoreline, and I really enjoy working with student veterans, and I'm really happy to also help other faculty answer questions, how they reach out to other veterans as well. So I'm really happy to be a part of this Got Your Six campaign.
Hi. Well, my name is Jordan Smith. I apologize for coming in late. Thank you, everybody. Keep it in time. I was in the Army. I was in the Army for just over 7 years. And should I go closer? I speak quiet. I get told that a lot, so that's probably very true. So yeah, I was in there for just over 7 years. I served primarily on the West Coast. I don't think this is on.
It's for the video.
Oh, sure. I served primarily on the West Coast. I served here in Washington. I was also a medic, EMT, occupational therapy assistant. Did a lot of training, trained a lot of soldiers. There's a lot of soldiers with a lot of medical training that don't carry the actual identifier of EMT. They're still very knowledgeable. I've been with Shoreline for approximately 1 year, and I've had more college experience before. I didn't do any college while I was serving for several different reasons, but I waited 2 years to come back to school. So I actually started school, as a 30-year-old person who doesn't look 30, and I also experienced Math 70. And and that is, it's a very real transition to make. I considered also additional resources, and I had to use them. Speaking in front of people is easy because you do it as a soldier kind of a lot. Turning to your partner, introducing yourself, and starting a project with someone you don't know is very difficult for me because I did some training today, and yes, standards are a big deal. Boundaries are a big deal. Being on time, being prepared for me, that's almost automatic. And so when I'm dealing with people who are younger or transitioning as well, it can be a lesson for me to just, slow down and relax. And the parameters are just not that stressful. And as far as different issues that I face, I'm also a single parent. And that was something that brought me out of the military. And so me placing him first, and he's also school age, makes it difficult for me to schedule my tests, makes it difficult for me to get to a class all the time, makes it difficult, finances if there's 5 weeks in a month sometimes. And other than that, my transition now has been great. And with the additional resources and accommodations, I'm actually thriving as a student. So I really appreciate this panel. Thank you.
Some of you touched on some of the issues that we face. We kind of want to thank you. We kind of want to get into some of those issues a little bit more. Any of you can speak at any time. Describe some of the transition issues associated with leaving the military and re-entering the civilian population.
I'll start on that. I think a big thing with the military and transitioning out is you have a structure in the military. You have a person that is in charge of you, or at least ahead of you, that's who you go to when you need to find something out. And those are also people who bring down the orders for you to get things done. When you go in the civilian world, you're on your own. You have to figure out, hey, how am I paying the bills this month? How do I get into school? How do I get to school? I have 2 kids myself, and when I first got out and was coming to Shoreline, luckily Shoreline was amazing. Missy and Rosemary got me enrolled and set up in 3 days before the quarter was supposed to start, and I could have started. I decided to take a step back and wait a quarter so that I could figure all those things out. I didn't have childcare set up. I didn't have the income set up. I had just gone out of the military, and I didn't really know what I was doing. So for a lot of guys and gals who are getting out, that's the hardest part is you come from a structure and from set ways to do things to now you need to figure it out, and good luck to you.
Also, I'd like to touch on one thing that I feel is very strong for student veterans to understand is, and also for teachers as well, is while you're in the Marine Corps, you have your core set of friends that go through all of the hard times with you. And those people are your support system. Every single day, they're your support system. You show up to work at 4:30 and you're not late. Everybody is there. And if you have problems and you want to talk, there is your brothers right next to you that you are more than willing to talk to. There isn't a barrier. You have your own support system with your own friends. And then when you exit the military, you go back to your hometown. You lose that support system. You have people that don't understand. A lot of people go back home and their parents don't understand, and they don't want to talk about it. And just having somebody there for you is such a big thing to have when you're exiting the military and starting something new. Like for me, I was lucky enough to have my girlfriend with me. I'm out here because I got divorced and my son lives out here. So for me, it wasn't an option. I had to move out here. I had to grow up. I had to fight my demons. I had to use my support system. And I feel like if teachers and students and faculty kind of understand that, they might understand that, okay, like these kids might need a little bit more from me, or these veterans might need a little bit more from me. Maybe an email here and there, maybe a, hey bro, how you doing? Well, maybe not bro, but like, hey, how you doing? You know, like anything, please, like, don't feel like veterans are the loose cannons that was described. I love talking to teachers. I love interacting with other students. I was a leader for 10 years in the Marine Corps. I was a leader. And when I step into the classroom, I feel like it's my duty to try and lead, to try and show students that they need to have their nose in this book if this is the path that they have. And if teachers support that more and they have more of an understanding of that, it's just going to be better for veterans in the long run. That's how I feel about that topic.
Do you mind if I jump in
Of course.
and say, I don't like, I'm probably antisocial to a fault, and I also had to fight my demons, and some of them included some insecurities I didn't even know that I had. And reaching out with different things is, I don't really volunteer to speak in the classroom. I try not to. I don't like to go to the teacher because I don't like to ask for help. It's never really been my thing to go, and if due diligence can't get it done, then for me, it's probably not real. So I try to do absolutely everything by myself. And that comes off as mean. It comes off as brush. Comes off as attitude. And really, I'm just very, very shy. And it's difficult for me to speak one-on-one with people I don't know in the same room. I mean, I'm shaking right now just because I don't know you. But I'm very comfortable speaking. I can probably give the rest of this presentation. But as far as being here, I'm very scared. And that's just something that follows me pretty much in every room that I go. So some people are naturally extroverted, and leadership came naturally to them. And I had some leaders that were, the day that I met them, they were leaders. The day that I knew them outside of service, they were leaders. And I know that that is absolutely real. But then some of us are just really good followers. Some of us were just really good soldiers. And that's just another part of that.
If I may add on to that, with my own experience, I had many struggles here in my 3 years. And I started off much the same way Jordan did. It was like, you know, I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't really have a good support system. I was raised differently where you don't talk about feelings. And that was just further grilled into me when I was in the military. There wasn't really, I mean, we had, you know, powwows where you could talk about stuff. You know, we called them pitch sessions, if you will. Pardon, sorry. Apologize for the language. But those were good. I didn't realize at the time how important that was. Just as he said, it was a support system. You had your guys or your people that you could talk to. And when I came to school, I didn't have that, and I couldn't communicate. And it wasn't until I really came across my first big problem, which was 99, Math 99, it was like, wow, what am I doing here? I can't even figure this out. And I see these kids in running start zipping right through my class, and I'm like, what the heck am I doing wrong here? And I didn't know how to ask for help. Like, it was a pride thing for me. It's like, I don't need to sit here and ask this 17-year-old, like, how in the heck did you do that? Like, what is that? Like, when I did find some help through some fellow veterans in the VRC, that I finally got the hookup, if you will. Another thing I came across when I went to the Math Learning Center was that with my frustrations, my communicating with the tutors, I didn't mean to be brash or aggressive, but my internal frustrations, I didn't know how to voice it. So when I would talk to the tutor, I'd be like, how do I attack this math problem? And they looked at me like, what? And I was like, how do I do this? Like, I don't get it. What's the plan of attack here? And they just kind of looked at me like, okay, well, that's kind of funny, but here's how we do this. And it was a learning experience for me. Up until that point, I would not go into an instructor. I just thought that was like, okay, in my training in the military, it was like, you didn't go to your superior. And to me, an instructor is your superior. You don't go and talk to them unless you try every avenue. You talk to your people, you talk to everybody else. Before Google was online, but now you got Google. You look at that, and then when you're really messed up, then you go to your superior and you say, hey, I'm in trouble, help me. And for me, it took a lot of floundering before I could get over that, my own issue, to say, I need help. I don't get this problem. And, I think that's some things, kind of like what Jordan touched on. It's like, I hate to say it in the simplest way, but that's what I'm known for. Is like, it's kind of like Forrest Gump, You never know what you're going to get in a box of chocolates kind of thing. Every veteran has their own bumps and lumps that they're coming to the civilian sector with. Some, not so bad. Some, you're just like, thank you for being here and you're alive. Please remember that. It's, I don't know, I'm talking too much, so everybody else want to chip in, go ahead.
I'll chip in on that help part. I've always kind of been, like I'm an extrovert. I like to talk to people, which is why I thrived so well at the Veteran Resource Center when I was going to school here. But when it comes to getting help, I'm like the last person to ask for it. I've always been, here's a task, plan the task complete. So when it comes to homework for me, and I just realized this while listening to everybody here, is usually I'll start a homework, I plan out how I'm going to do the homework, and I'll finish the homework and turn it in. If I do not finish the problem, I get frustrated, I try to move on, but I'll always come back to it to the point where I won't finish that homework and I won't turn it in. I'll have more than 50% of the work done, but I won't turn it in. I think that's something I have to deal with a little bit of help, which I'm actually planning on talking to my instructor now that I think about it, because I just realized this. But asking for help, I guess, with the Got Your Six designation, it kind of opens the door. It doesn't open it all the way, but it lets me know that the door is open. And I'll be more willing to talk to an instructor that kind of understands me a little bit more with his training than to just talk to an instructor and say, hey, I'm a failure. I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. And to have somebody who's like, okay, you're not a failure, you're learning. This is the steps you need to take, and then I'll try it that way. And if I can't get it, maybe I need to talk to my instructors a little bit more. And I think the Got Your Six campaign is a good door opener.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I'm hearing from my fellow panel members up here is a lot of kind of echoing the video that showed about that wide divide between that civilian and military life. Kind of funny, it kind of echoes some of these cultural divides we're seeing countrywide right now, perhaps. And then as faculty, it's really important if we educate ourselves in this enculturation process that soldiers are encountering. Even though it takes all kinds, everybody joins the military, people who are extroverts, people who are introverts, but we're all enculturated in this system. And there are things that, if faculty know about this, can actually help those veterans, you know, that desire for structure, that orientation on tasks, you know, and that completion of tasks and teamwork and accountability, those sorts of things, right? That's true for everybody in the military. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Accountability.
Accountability is big, and that's a big frustration, right? That's a big frustration in the transition. Other people don't necessarily take accountability for themselves. It's really frustrating to
One thing I
witness
would
that.
like to kind of add on to that too is, at least I know for myself, and I've heard from other, veterans, is we are older. We come to school, and sometimes you get treated, or you feel like you're being treated kind of like a kid fresh out of high school, or this young kid who hasn't really seen too much. Most of us, by the time we get here, like I said in the video, we're 25 or up. We have families, we have kids, we have a lot of things going on outside of the life. And we were leaders in the military, and then to come somewhere where now you're just student A over here, and for all they know, you're 19, you haven't done anything in the world, and they need to make sure that they kind of babysit you. And it kind of gets a little bit offensive for us that we're not treated like the adult that we know and feel we are. And so that can be difficult to be treated that way. Sorry.
I just wanted to add something to that. We did a little briefing before today so that we could talk about some of this stuff. And one of the things that I heard from you guys was that you want your instructors to know that you're prior service members. And so finding a way to ask that question, whether whether it's a show of hands or something a little bit more discreet, there's any number of ways to do it. But you want them to know who you are and know your story. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. You guys have to bear with me for a little bit. I have short-term memory loss because of service-related things. What was it?
How can they show, or how can they ask you questions about being?
Oh, yeah. I want all you guys to know that I'm a veteran. I want you all to know, because I am not the traditional student. I am very proud of my service. I've done many things that people don't get to do in their lifetime, and I'm proud of it. And I'm also proud that I feel like I am good at teaching people things. And lost it again. But yeah, I feel like if during classroom, for me, it would be something as simple as asking a question, who's a veteran? My hand will go up. I'm sure some of other people's hands will go up as well. But I can also understand the point to where it might make somebody feel uncomfortable. I totally understand that. But from my point of view, somebody who's been out of the military for about a year now, I feel like I am more than happy to express the fact that I'm a veteran to anybody, not just teachers, anyone. So.
In my classes, man.
Go ahead.
In my classes, I begin the quarter. We all have Canvas shells for our class. I have an introduction discussion. Just introduce yourself. Just write something. Say, hey, this is me. This is where I live. I'm interested in this class because of this. Right? And you're setting up that learning community in your classes every quarter, right? And so there always should be some kind of introduction going on. But that is an opportunity for veterans to self-identify, right? And then you never have to ask that question, who's a veteran? You never have to ask, who's a blank or who's a blank, right? You just say, hey, tell me something about yourself, either on Canvas or spending a few minutes in class, maybe during that first week. But,
If I may, one thing I noticed when I first got here was my instructors would do the little powwow, and each instructor, you do as you please, however you see works best for you. Some of us are introverts, extroverts, whatnot. One thing that I found that helped me was when you had a piece of paper and it was one of those things that you turned into the instructor only. And in there that said something like, hey, are you a veteran? Is there anything else I need to know about you? Along with all the other questions is going to hit every veteran. Because not every veteran's going to be like, yeah, hey, I'm proud I served. Some of us got some demons that we're like, no. I don't want everybody to know this. You know, I have my own stuff I got to deal with. So I think that one piece of paper is so simple, and yet I don't, you know, it's one of those things the instructor can just be like, hey, or online Canvas. Nobody knows that if you submit it through a private email Hooyah thing. So, I mean, to me, that's an easy way to identify. To touch back on something we touched earlier was the Got Your Six. When you get this designation, one thing that really resonated with me was with one of my first struggles, I talked to one of my nutrition teachers, and I still have the mentality of like, you know, I'm going to come in there, I'm going to report just like the military, I'm going to be very respectful, I'm not going to say much except for, hey, I'm having this issue with this topic that you're giving me, help me. And that took a lot for me to do that. When I saw she had an MRE on her table, I was like, hey, I know that. Where'd you get that? And she all of a sudden opened up and she goes, hey, I got a family who was in the military. It was huge for me. It broke the ice, if you will. I was like, oh, wow, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. I totally just opened up to her, and I was like, I talked to her like an hour. I'm sure she had grades or whatever she had to do. Super sweet, you know, just taking that time. And that made the hugest impact with me, was just taking that time to just talk to me and let me know that it's okay to struggle. You're here in an education format. You're gonna struggle. If you don't struggle, props to you, but you know, it's gonna come. You're gonna get that uphill climb.
Manly, can you say what an MRE is?
Oh, I'm sorry. MRE. Thank you. MREs are these bags of, some would call them delicious, or some would call them rations.
MRE stands for meal ready to eat, and it's basically dehydrated food and food that's supposed to last a few years in a bag.
7 years.
That's a gut bomb sometimes.
High calorie.
They extend it past 7 years every once in a while.
We got them past 7 years, let's just put it that way.
Yeah,
They're delicious. All right.
they're delicious.
You know, to add on to this Got Your Six, you know, just like some teachers have the designation of a flag, or to say that they're not from this particular place, or they're from this particular place, or maybe their family speaks this language, or their family participates in these holidays. Those are the type of things that kind of are like little signals that say, hey, if you need to talk, I can help you. And this Got Your Six would just be another one of those signifiers for, you know, quieter or less represented populations that are just going to continue to grow. And if I would see that, and I would be likely to go speak to that person, just because I wouldn't have to start with, yes, I was in the Army, yes, this is where I served, this is what I did, this is my problem. It could be like, this is what happened-ish, this is my problem. And it generally has to do with, I don't want to do group work. And that's,
Right?
no, and the teachers don't want to hear that. They're like, well, you need to face that. So that's just, I think that little sticker would make me more likely to go speak to somebody.
Yeah, because then you know it's a free space. You know, like a safe zone, as you mentioned before. It's like I can actually go in there, and you'll be able to at least be patient enough to listen to me, or not judge me, because that's something that I think every veteran or person in general deals with. You know, just being able to say, "Hey, I need a moment of your time. Just, you know, hear me out," kind of, if you will.
I just want to point out one more thing that's probably quite obvious to everybody. Veterans are a very diverse group. So when we talk about our student veterans, you can't lump them into one category and assume they're all the same. They have very diverse experiences, diverse personalities, and diverse needs. So it's good if you can get to know them individually.
One thing I want to add about the Got Your Six actual symbol and everything is that when I go to register for a class, the first people I talk to are the other vets in the VRC. Hey, did that teacher give you extra time when you needed it? Or, you know, I'm in the reserves. There's times where it's not just the weekend I'm going to be gone. I'm gone in the middle of the week or for a few days. Hey, did that teacher let you take that test early, or maybe give you some more time on it, you know, to get it turned in? And that's how I figure out who I'm taking for my courses. And to have a symbol like Got Your Six either be on their page somewhere, or, you know, their classroom, whatever it is, and I see that and I go, okay, that, you know, that teacher's probably knows a little bit about the military. They're probably a little flexible with our schedules. I'm more likely to want to take that teacher and take those classes, because I know I'm going to kind of get that respect and that help when I need it and that extra time when I need it.
I feel like that benefits you as teachers as well, because I know all of us veterans, we're not all perfect, but at the same time, I think that we do bring something to every classroom that the teachers do respect. Most veterans go in the classroom and their main objective is to learn, not to stuff their face in their computers like half of the children that go to the school do. So I would feel like if I was a teacher, I would want those students in my class to bring it alive, especially for psychology teachers or morals teachers. So it helps you out as well.
And I think it gives us a sense of purpose as well, to have us assist you in a class, in a classroom environment. I have an example of where I was in a class and the instructor pointed out all the things that we're supposed to do in class, this chemistry lab. And one of the things that are required in a chemistry lab is you have to speak English. It's not to like separate you from your culture or anything. It's because if you were to say something like, hey, what would happen if I put this chemical in the sink? Would you still do it? Well, if you did it in your own language, nobody would hear you. But my example goes to where a couple of students are messing around, they're cleaning out their equipment, and they're just dumping it straight into the sink. I was like, instead of me just like, oh, teacher, I was like, hey, are you guys supposed to be putting your stuff in the sink? And they got the instructor and look around like, what? Oh. And they're like, oh no, it's like, it's on the lab. It says, do not put stuff, chemicals in sink. Put in chemical hood. But I mean, just having a veteran in the class, somebody who's, I'm not just saying it's only veterans that do this, but somebody who's a little bit more mature, a little bit has a little bit more experience in their background. There's a reason why they're teaching us this stuff. I mean, I think we were just using it was food coloring, some sort of food coloring. And it wasn't anything dangerous, but it was a good practice. But I think having a veteran help instructors in a class, it gives you more eyes in the classroom, especially in a chemistry, in a lab environment. We're willing to help. And it gives us a sense of purpose. We like to teach. We like to show people things, maybe not on a one-on-one scale, but we do like, and it also helps you learn a lot faster, because I learned how to run schematics on a hydraulic system on a C-130 by teaching other people, because my sergeant said, hey, Marin, you're going to be teaching this class tomorrow. Good luck. I'm just like, what? I've been here for 2 months, man. I have no idea how this hydraulic system on a C-130 works. But I learned. And sometimes it's not great to throw us in the fire, but sometimes it's a fun experience.
I can't count the number of times I've had a teacher say, oh, thank you for volunteering. Or, hey, thank you for being the first one to, speak in class or something like that. Because it comes natural to us, That's not something most of us, I would say, not all of us, aren't scared to just kind of raise our hand, or the teacher's asking. I can't count the number of times I've seen a teacher kind of stand up there for like a minute and just kind of, twirl the thumbs, waiting for somebody to finally say, hey.
Sometimes we're not afraid to be
yes,
wrong.
we did our homework, teacher. Like, I mean, things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I did it. And like, thank you for saying something.
I admit, in physics class, I have yelled at an answer I knew was wrong, because I'm not the smartest person in the classroom, but I knew it would get the class going. It's like, this is how I feel about it. It's that. And she's like, good thought. Wrong direction. Here's how we're going to go. But it kept the class going. And we like progression. We like to keep things rolling. Not all of us do, but it's linearity to keep it moving smoothly. And sometimes the quiet pause where the teacher just looks at everybody is a little bit, it's just like, okay, it's this. No. All right. Thank God. Move the class forward.
To add to that is, everywhere I go, I also try to at least maintain whatever standard is already there. And if I realize that the standard is, maybe the standard bearer is absent that day, I really don't have any issue with raising the standard. Often I will try to volunteer for a presentation first, because, I got to look at these presentations too. And if I go first, I know that at least there'll be, maybe at least one example of a way to do something. because I've noticed that if I take the back seat all the time, sometimes I'm not contributing as much as I could. And my own personal standard for me is just so incredibly high. I don't share it with everybody else, but I feel like that adds something like structure to the group, because I just simply demand, integrity from myself all the time. I demand to be able to reach the goal. If it's 50% done, I don't turn it in either. Exactly, because it's not to the
gets
standard.
frustrating.
It's not to the standard.
Yeah, you want to have them take a mission, get it done, complete, and then turn it in like, ooh, where are my good cookies? Like, oh, you're a good cookie. You did a good job, 100% on that homework. But yeah, we like to get things done and turn things in done. Maybe if my instructor's like, well, if there's anyone who doesn't have it all the way done, and to understand how a veteran thinks, like, this isn't done, I'm not turning it in. I've always done this. I've talked to other veterans about it, and I've also said, hey, no, turn it in. Partial credit, man. But me, I'm in my own seat, I'm not turning it in. I have this.
Real quick about that, I mean, that's why I think the Got Your Six training is really helpful, because especially at the beginning of the year, you did that little survey thing, and they said, hey, I'm a veteran, and you start seeing that they're struggling with their grades or that they're not turning in work. Sometimes it can be something as small as they just didn't get one of the problems that were on that worksheet, so they're not going to turn in the whole thing. And to be able to know, like, hey, they're a veteran, I've taken this training, I've seen that can be an issue with them, for an instructor to come up to us and say, hey, is there a reason you're not turning in your homework? And then that vet being able to say, oh, well, I just didn't complete it. So, and a teacher being like, okay, that's okay. Why don't you come to my office and we'll try and complete it? Because that's the number one thing for veterans. They got to complete everything. So instead of just saying, hey, we'll just turn it in anyways, to say, hey, can you come to my office and I'll help you through it? They can get that accomplished. And that sense of, I did my job now, gets relieved for a veteran.
I want to loop back to something, and you've alluded to it a little bit, but could you guys say something about some of the very specific transition issues that student veterans face leaving the service, coming to college, that might be different than what other students are facing, and what that might look like in the classroom? Because Jake, what I'm thinking about some of our discussion the other day about sometimes your need to move around the room.
Yes, ma'am.
So some of those types of things, maybe?
So I have inside the classroom. Let me back up a little bit. So while I was in service, I was unfortunately hit by 2 improvised explosive devices, and I was medically retired for traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder. So being inside the classroom isn't the easiest thing for me. I'm very hypervigilant. So you know how you teachers like to mess with the volume all the time on those projectors? Man, those things go off, it can be bad for me, because it goes off, it tips me, my hypervigilance is up goes my anxiety, up goes everything else. I've got to go, because you don't want to see me at my worst. So for me, there are physical things that stop me in the classroom. And, your anxiety levels might get a little high, or pretty much anything mental health related for me is, anything can do it. But if a teacher has the understanding of like, oh, okay, Jake has to pack his things and get up and go. Like, I always do it respectfully. I always do it quietly. But those are some of the things that I do have to deal with on a daily basis in the classroom. And one thing, though, that does keep me away from, straying in a different direction is a good class with a good instructor. If you can keep my mind in your class, then you've got me, because I stray off every which where. I can't write and listen at the same time. It doesn't happen. If I'm writing something down, whatever else is going on isn't going on, basically, in my head. But yeah, there are a lot of physical problems that I do have with being inside the classroom. And I do have anxiety to the level of, if there are 50 people in a classroom, a lot of people, and that, raises my anxiety levels to a point to where I'm uncomfortable in the classroom. Even if it's a class that I like or I love, if there's 50 people in there, it's going to be a little uncomfortable for me. But if me and the instructor can work together and kind of get the class rolling and keep everybody involved, it helps a lot for me. So just with that being said, it's kind of like when a veteran can work with a teacher, it helps out a lot for my mental health aspect. And also, so the example I gave actually is a real example where the projector turned on or whatever turned on, and it scared me so bad. I started sweating. I tried to stay, started sweating, packed my stuff, and I had to go. But after that, after the class, I wanted to apologize to my instructor because I got up, I left. I feel like I had to say something, to her. So the class was exiting, and I walked in, and the teacher immediately came up to me, met me halfway, asked me if I was okay, asked me if there's anything she could do, and treated me like an adult. And it was very refreshing because I figured I was going to have to stomp back down that classroom and tell her, that I have all these mental health problems and things like that. Now, when she came up to me and had enough respect to come and find me and say, hey, I apologize for that, and I'm going to keep an eye on it, and I'll try my best to not let it happen again, is something that made me feel a lot more comfortable. So with that being said, for challenges inside the classroom, those are just a few that I face. So
I think I was going to say, I remember, conversation we had. Some other little things that we've talked about is people just positioning themselves in certain areas in the classroom. Some teachers want everybody to try and move up to the front of the class or something, where a lot of veterans want to know where the exits are. They want the back to a wall, things like that. Weird little seating things like that can change. Or even just people who look like they're not engrossed in the class, like they look like they're not paying attention or they're getting bored really easy. It's not the teacher's fault. It's not your guys' fault. It's just that veterans can kind of lose track, and they can kind of, sometimes they need to fidget with things, or they need to just start paying attention to something else because that's the way their mind's working, especially for people who have, PTSD and things like that. They have to kind of work through those things, and sometimes it looks like they're just not paying attention when they could be, and knowing they're a veteran in advance helps with those kind of things.
One transition I had was, especially in the entry-level math, so I was amongst, many younger students, and I think it comes back to how we're talking about our standards. And whenever the instructor spoke, to me it was you shut your mouth and you listen, and you do exactly what the instructor says. My peers were sitting there playing on Amazon, talking, everything, and the instructor was trying to be good and be like, hey, pay attention, please stop talking. I let her struggle for a little bit, and then I was like, hey, lock it up. And I got a talking to about it because I was really furious. I was like, I'm here because I want to learn. I don't want to sit here and freaking play Amazon or Google, whatever crap you got on your computer thing going. Or care about Facebook or whatever reality show you're watching. I don't care. You show up, you do your job, you listen to the instructor. I had a tough time with that because my peers didn't necessarily show that. And so I got talked to by the instructor because she's like, you can't do that. And then it was before Misty came on board, the other guy was like, you really can't do that. And I was like, Roger that, won't happen. And he's like, if you need, step out. And I was like, gotcha, okay, good to go. And he's like, or just go to the front of the class, which I was already kind of there, but whatever. That was really tough for me, and adjusting and realizing. I mean, especially as you touched on, the higher level classes, man, people that want to be there are there. So you don't have to deal with that entry level stuff. But I know that a lot of vets are going to be coming in, and they're going to be starting the same way I did, and they're going to have a tough transition if that's what they're going to be going into, especially if they don't know how to communicate. In these 3 years I've been here, I've struggled a lot. And I've been so lucky to have Missy and my fellow veterans. Once I found the VRC as a real safe zone outside of the Scott Your Six before it even came about, that was my safe zone. That was my home. Like, every time I had an issue, if I wasn't at one of these learning centers, I was going right to the VRC and I was tapping their brain and saying, hey guys, I just need to get this off my chest real quick. And once I got that, it got immensely better. Once I could realize that, hey, I need to communicate to my instructors when I do struggle, like, it opened up my mind. And every single veteran I saw that came behind me, I was like, dude, I know this sounds silly, or lady, open that line of communication with your instructor. It sounds so dumb. It sounds, you know, there's so many stigmas that we were ingrained in with not to do that.
It's foreign to us.
It is, but do it. Do it. If you're struggling, say, hey, I'm struggling, you know, time, I need your time. And that is, I mean, the one thing that if I could say anything out of all this, is if you have a veteran and you notice in just the body cues, like they're struggling, they're snapping pencils during a test, or they're just looking really bound up, like ready to rumble.
Yeah, one thing we hardly ever do is do the snapping thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
On the pen.
Goodness.
But when we get real frustrated, we're just like, oh God. And the funny thing is that noise ticks me off too. It's like when I'm trying to focus and hear click, 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 click. Oh man, it just drives me up a wall when you're in a quiet class, and all you hear is that. But it turns out we use that sometimes when we just get frustrated, just like, oh my God, I'm not getting this, or somebody's acting up in the class, because I too have had to yell in a classroom, and that's one thing we're not supposed to do. Yeah, well, everyone thinks it's yelling, but I'm just projecting to make sure everyone in the classroom can hear me. But I've had to just like, and I've cussed in the class, and you guys gotta shut up. The teacher's still saying stuff. It might be useful for me to know what she's talking about. And sometimes a veteran student can say, if you're not gonna take charge of your class, I will. And we don't wanna do that, because that's yeah, no worries. And that's usually the teacher's job. That's what we take.
Oh, I have lots of things to add. Yes, I have lots of thoughts. Yeah, moving around here. Having been in the military and now being faculty, it's also really interesting hearing you all talk, because this is how I run my classes, right? I kind of run it from that point of view of the veteran, where my instructions are very clear. I expect everyone to do everything I tell them to do, right? But I give them very clear directions, and by having that pathway to advancement, right? It's sort of like that, almost like that chain of command of tasks, right? And I teach lab classes. I very often, if I know someone is a veteran, and seeing like anxiety levels, sometimes different veterans are different, I can actually ask them to help me in the classroom. Ask them to be an extra set of eyes, right? Without being, showing any sort of favoritism, right? But they really care. They really want to be there. They really want everyone else to be there. They care so much, right? And coming from that whole different world of that camaraderie and teamwork, and you hold yourself accountable, but each other too, right? And then you get in this classroom and people are not respectful. They've been handed everything. They haven't had to work hard for their knowledge. It's been given to them, largely, right? It's a totally different culture. I mean, we all have different realities. We all come from different places in general. But the reality of the military is also a very different place, especially for those service members who have served in a wartime environment, right? There is a physiological conditioning. There are physiological changes. It can be even difficult to leave the house, let alone show up. But they really want to show up. And if you can't show up 100%, what's the point of showing up, right? Sometimes.
That's how my bad quarter.
Right? Sometimes.
I did have a quarter where I failed all my classes.
Yeah, right.
Because it got overwhelming.
Yeah.
We're used to progression.
Yes.
A veteran student any veteran is used to, all right, you get in the military. Little bit of time goes by, you get a promotion. Or you get a billet. You get another promotion. You get another billet. You get more responsibility. But stagnating for a year actually got to me real quick. I was like, what am I doing? I'm sitting in a classroom every day. The next quarter is going to be the same as the next quarter. I'm just going to do homework, turn in homework, and get done.
Ideally, you're progressing in your classes and building knowledge.
Yeah, and
sometimes Math 70 feels a little low.
Oh yeah, I started at math. I started Math 80, and I met Doc at Math 99, and been on this boat for a while. And you're going to graduate this coming quarter, right?
Done right here.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We would love to open it up for a few questions before we do our final push for the Got Your Six designation. So this is David Singleton. He is our Vet Corps navigator. He is our resource for everything veteran related. If a veteran needs car repairs, if they need childcare, if they need help with health insurance, whatever resource VA has or organizations have in the area, he is our resource. So he is housed in the Veterans Resource Center, and he's another asset for our vets. So, anybody have questions?
Got one back here. Go ahead.
Hang on to the microphone, please.
I asked this
There's no speakers here. It's just for the.
I asked this because I want to understand you better and other veterans. So, how did you change after your military experience?
That's a hard question. I think for myself, I don't know if I've really changed other than I think I've adapted. I don't know if I can say I've changed because I feel like I'm in the reserves now. I go back to the reserves and I am still the same way I was when I was active duty. And I try to live my life with those kind of same morals and standards. I think I've just adapted to the point of I let people kind of do what they're doing instead of getting frustrated because they're not doing it the way I want to do it or that I think it should be done. I've realized I have to just let them do it their way and find what works best for me. I mean, the whole thing about students talking or being loud in the classroom really sucks, and you want to be there for yourself. I've been in classrooms where me and another buddy who was a veteran moved to the other side of the room because we couldn't hear the teacher anymore because people kept talking. So that was one way for us to just kind of adapt and say, you know what, they're going to talk, let's go to where we can. Yeah.
The way that I changed, part of the reason why I joined the military was to learn self-discipline. And I just learned so much more. The Army taught me how to be a woman and take responsibility for myself and my household and how to put the mission first, you know, how to organize my missions. Once I left the military, I was kind of lost. Like at first I thought, why did I even leave? I should have stayed. And I had to learn how to basically problem solve all on my own and learn where new offices were. It was almost like a re-socialization. You change the way you eat, you change the way you think, you change the way you communicate, the way you relate to your community, even just getting around a little bit. So I also had to change the way that I thought and talked to myself so I could change the way I spoke to others. That's something that I noticed.
For myself, in my 3 years, I think I flipped a 180, in all honesty. I came on board and I didn't communicate. I was very shy. I know it doesn't seem it, but especially now the people that know me, with my struggles, and there have been struggles that they all know, I learned slowly that it's good to talk. It's good to reach out for help. And once I did that, it changed my entire perspective. And I eventually was able to get some mental help. Like, it's tough to admit that. Like, wow. Because I always thought, you know, my whole life I was like, I'm a butt kicker, you know? The military ingrained that. Like, I never failed. Not once. And then I came to school, and I was getting my ass handed to me. It sucked. It really sucked. And having that ability to be like, okay, it's not that bad. The one thing I realize now, because I've had the failures, is realizing this is a piece of paper, and your instructor's asking you to prove what you've learned. And I still mess it up. You know, I can't even get, you know, some of the quotes right sometimes. But, you know, I realized something that from that high standard value was that it doesn't matter if you can't get a 4.0 on this. You know, you got to take a perspective. And that's one thing that really sank into me. It's like, if I did my best, then all right, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Don't be ashamed that some 18-year-old 4-0'd that quiz or that exam. I did my best, you know? Don't let it sit there and take me down to a dark place again. Yeah.
I guess being in the military and then transitioning out, I wasn't really goal oriented before I joined the military. I joined the military, became very goal oriented, and then transitioning back out, I would say I'm still goal oriented. It's just trying to figure out what that goal is. There's not much clarity in life of what the goal is. It's a very open-ended question. What's the goal of life? But just to have a little bit more, to have goals in a class, like what the goal of this class is, would be something more for me to strive towards.
Was your question concerned more about how military service changes you, or how you've changed since you've left military service? Both. What changed you? Actually being in the service from before the service to after. Yeah. Self-discipline and goal orientation is a real big one, I think, for probably a lot of veterans, right? We're all tend to be very self-disciplined. If we didn't have it before, we certainly have it after.
Yeah, I can definitely. Anyway, so you guys know a bit about my teaching style. So something I sometimes worry about, and it was reflected in the video we watched earlier, was, it's great for me. I really like to teach and show students how the world actually is. And it's wonderful when I have people that have been through experiences that can testify that. That's just something like being at war in Afghanistan would be something that some green 18-year-old would have no idea about. And so when I cover a topic in my class like the death penalty, as we saw, like it's great to have someone that's seen a bit more of the world and can kind of understand the ramifications and repercussions and consequences of the sorts of actions that we take. But I worry sometimes that in the goal of like recognizing veterans, it's almost like, well, we're talking about death. Jake, what do you think? And that's not fair. Like I don't ever want to make anyone uncomfortable. I don't ever want to be like, you guys are different. Right? Like you're us, you're Americans, So it's in the same way, like if I have a student that self-identifies as gay in class, I'm not going to go be like, well, you're our expert on being gay, so what do you think about this? So I guess I'd like to know, how do you guys, in terms of you want to be recognized as veterans in class, but how do you want to be treated where we can show deference to who you are and what your experiences are without like making you feel different or special, like in a negative way? Do you know what I'm saying? So how is it that us instructors can best recognize you and your contribution without making you feel like you're a different kind of person in the classroom?
Well, inside the classroom, I do feel like a different type of person, to be completely honest. I feel like the way you run your class is very conducive to veterans understanding and moving on. I think it's great. And I've actually brought up the fact that in class, you do call on me, and it's great, and I like it. And because I know that I bring a different side of the conversation, I know I do. I know I have my own opinions. I know some of my opinions are skewed, but maybe that might be something that somebody else is thinking that they don't want to say because they're too embarrassed, So me answering the questions and you calling on me and saying like, oh yeah, well, in a time of war, it's like, why wouldn't you call on me? Like, I'm here. I know not everything about it, but I know a lot about it. And I'm more than happy to, address everything. But I feel like calling on a veteran or just be like, hey, how do you feel about this? I feel like it's great, especially in our class where it's usually an open discussion that's easy to call on somebody and say, hey, well, how do you feel about this topic? But I also see that some veterans might not like that style, And I feel like, maybe even if it's just a message on Canvas, hey, like I understand you're a veteran. I would like to call on you more because I think that you have more life experience. You get an email back 5 minutes later, yeah, of course. Boom, you got your answer. So kind of, if you would like to do something with a veteran, like don't be bashful. Like ask them. Like all the teachers want us to send them emails. Feel free to send us emails as well about any questions that you have or any teaching styles that you would like for us to bring to your classroom. Because we're not the traditional student. I think all of us have showed up here like we want to go into the classroom and we want a classroom environment where everybody's participating and learning. And even if we have to take a, step in at points and say, hey, you guys need to quiet down or whatever. But yeah, I think the way that you run it is great.
Just to add to that, I think it's a great thing. I don't think there's any veterans that don't want to be called on. Maybe a few, but to just talk to them at the beginning, like he said, quick email, whatever it may be, is the easiest way to talk to any of them, especially if you know what your class topics are kind of doing. That whole questionnaire thing where they say, hey, I'm a veteran, you can just say, hey, do you mind if I call on you for these experiences? And that's the kind of thing that Got Your Six can help with, is asking those questions to those veterans. Do you mind if these are some of the subjects we're going to bring up in my class. Do you mind if I use your expertise? And guys can easily say, yeah, this, and this, I have no problem. Please don't call me into this. I have issues with that already, what it may be.
Most likely, veterans who self-identify very loudly will be very willing to answer questions. And usually you don't even have to call on a veteran student. I've been in classes, my multicultural studies class, I'm not sure if that's the class you teach, but my multicultural studies class, we had a group of veterans in my class, and some of them were very quiet to themselves. They were very introverted, and they didn't really like to be called on, but on certain topics, they would speak up. We're very willing to talk about some of the things we have or have feelings on, and sometimes we can be very rash. We won't really care what other people feel about our feelings. Because, we're usually more adultish, we think. We've done the adulting for a while, and we like to share our experiences. If somebody doesn't agree with our viewpoints, we're fine with that. It's funny for me to see sometimes where some people will be very against how I feel, and then they'll get upset at me. I'm like, well, I've heard your part, and you got to give me the chance to say my part. And we're more than willing to share how we feel most of the time. And we will volunteer ourselves, not necessarily get voluntold.
Right.
I'm sorry to add, just to add on to that. Being highly motivated to complete a mission, being highly motivated to get at least a decent grade, part of that is showing up. You usually see veterans mostly there. And as far as volunteering, self-identifying, I generally don't self-identify even on Canvas. When people say, oh, just tell a little bit about yourself, I generally keep that to myself unless for some reason the answer that I'm providing is directly related to my time in service, which almost never happens. But the classes that I have, for some reason, express the fact that I have prior service. The teacher does value it. The teacher has responded positively to it, and they've welcomed my opinions more often. But something I've noticed is other young women have pulled me to the side to ask me about service-related things. Maybe they want to join a force. Maybe they want to enlist. Maybe they're interested in going legal, and they want to know, how are they going to be treated? What should they expect? Are some of these things that they hear true? How true are they for me? And I find that really, really valuable, because there's a lot of young women out there, a lot of young men, but it's usually young women who come and speak to me that are highly motivated to become photojournalists in some of the craziest places in the world. And all I can say is, you got it. You got the heart. You can do it. And some other girls will be like, I kind of got this going on, or I already have a child. And all of those become really relevant because I can speak to them. And I noticed that those type of topics just, generally won't come up in, in a class like multicultural studies. And so the being a valuable member of the community has been really, really personally fulfilling for me.
I would like to get to one more question, and then we have to finish up this presentation because we are running short on time. I'm sorry that we're not going to get to more questions, but here we go.
Is this on?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Jake, you had mentioned that you had difficulty writing and listening at the same time.
Yes, sir.
And also, Nathan, I think you said something about maybe test time or extended test time. So my question, I have a learning disability, and I found a lot of help in special services. So my question is for Missy and David, do the veterans supply that? Because I'm allowed to record my class on my phone, and it's really helpful for me because I can't take notes real fast, and I just go back home and I listen to it and take it at my own pace. And also I'm able to get extended test time if I need it, which is really helpful. But what's really cool too is I would let the special services know about that, and then they communicate that to my instructors. And, my instructor came up to me and they said, do you need extended test time today? Or, it's okay if you take notes on your phone. I didn't even ask them about it. So that's one thing I really appreciate about special services is they provide that. But I hope they provide that for veterans as well. I know I have a learning disability, so I have doctor's orders that I can do that. But I think it'd be a great thing for veterans if they had that same service.
Yes, sir. Sorry, bud. So the disability office, I have, just like you, I have disabilities that I have paperwork for from a doctor. I went into disability services, and they are great. They're absolutely awesome. They hook me up with everything that you said, and they're great. I try to use them as much as I can. But on the same note, there are still military veterans on campus that don't have the doctor's note, and they can't exactly go over there and get those. They can't get those commodities because they don't have that. So, as a teacher, I feel like if somebody had a tape recorder on their desk, I would kind of feel like, okay, like that's okay with me, but for everybody has their own. To each their own. If you don't want the recorder there, you don't have, can't have it. But yeah, I think those services are great. But to benefit the rest of the veterans that don't get those services, I feel like spreading the word for Got Your Six is what's going to be what helps them.
And I will just add to that during orientations, veteran-specific orientations, we do try to get at some of the heart of those issues with some questions. Sometimes veterans will tell us that they have a service-connected disability, and then that is our next step. We're in the same office. Office of Student Support Services and Veterans Programs are now in the same office. So it is something that they do get. It does have to be a documented disability. If they don't have the documentation, we can help them get that. So it is a service that is provided to all students on campus and to our vets. I'm going to move on. I would love to have more questions because this is what you guys want to hear about, but I do want to get to how you can earn the Got Your Six designation. This is the first start. You need to, the main training piece is an online simulation. It's called Veterans on Campus. There is information in the packet that we provided. I think we might have ran out, so I can get that information to you. I can email that information to you. Essentially, you need to complete the online Veterans on Campus simulation. It's a 30-minute interactive video. You will then need to attend 2 additional trainings. This will count as one. If you attended any of our trainings in 2015, last year, then we can use those as well. We have also attached the training opportunities that we have for this academic year. We have attached the trainings that are offered by the Veterans Training and Support Center It is a program run through King County. Those are listed there. It only goes through the end of the year, but we'll get more training options coming forward. So really, you need 3. You need Veterans on Campus, 2 additional trainings. You get that Got Your Six designation. You can put that on your syllabus. You can put that on your door. You can put that anywhere you want. And that will help our veterans know that you have received some form of training and you have some awareness of what they're going through and some of those transition issues. We encourage you to attend 1 additional training each year. We also encourage to stay up to date on the latest things that are going on. We also encourage you to join us in the Veterans Resource Center. It's in Foss Building, 2nd floor, 5225A. We have weekly coffee breaks, free coffee and donuts. Come in, talk to a vet, get to know them a little bit more. Talk about your class, how you can help, how maybe they can help you. It's really about communicating and bringing us all together. Any questions on the training, on what you need to do to get the designation? Okay. So this is Veterans on Campus. You have the, that's interesting that ended up in cursive. You have the login information on the bottom right. Again, it is a 24/7 simulation. You can do it in the privacy of your own home. You can do it on work. It is not supported on a notepad or a smartphone, but you can access it anywhere else.
Takes about 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I want you guys to know that each one of the panelists here actually went through the same training so that they could understand what we're asking you all to do. And they all volunteered for this panel because they felt that training is what was important. I think Rosemary needs to say something. Oh, no, okay. Any questions so far?
I have an extra one. Somebody wants it.
Okay, if for any reason you did not get any of the documentation that you needed, please let us know. We're hoping that you signed in and checked whether or not you needed information. If you need assistance, if you want us to come to your class or to division meeting, please let us know. The other thing we would really love to encourage is if you go through the Veterans on Campus simulation, we ask you to go out and talk to your colleagues and get 6. If we can get each of you to get 6 people to do this training, then it's going to spread. If you're just doing it but we're not spreading the word, then we're not going to be as effective as we want to be with this presentation and with this initiative. Any questions? Yes. Let me get you this microphone.
Hi, I'm Erin. I'm the online student success coach. And one of the things that we talked about also was if faculty need help with going through the modules, I'm happy to come one-on-one to their office and walk them through it since it's an online training piece. So if you're struggling with the tech piece of it, I'm willing to help with that too. So.
Any other questions we can answer on that? So I'd also like to say thank you. Thank you for being here. It means a lot to us. This is probably the best turnout we've had for any of our events. I think the Veterans Panel does a lot for that. I think you want to hear from them more than you want to hear from me. We will have more panel discussions in our training sessions in the future, so please feel free to go or to attend. We do have certificates of completion for attending this training, so if you would like to pick one up as you leave, that is great. We'll also be making a note that you attended this training so that we can get you to your designation. Lastly, we have a Veterans Honor Tree. For Veterans Day through the month of November, we have an honor tree set up. We have leaves, red, white, and blue leaves in the back. Write a name of a veteran that you know or family member. If you want to put a picture on one of those leaves, please do so. Drop it off into the Veterans Resource Center. We'll hang it on our tree. We would love to have that tree filled with leaves by the end of November. And then our Socks, and More Socks drive. We have 3 bin locations. One is in Aaron Wilson's office. Excuse me. One is right outside of the Student Support Services office, and then we also have a bin in the library. So we're looking for new pairs of sock donations for homeless veterans that'll be given. We'll be accepting donations through the month of December. So thank you guys so much for coming. And please, get some goodies, right? There's some really great Rice Krispie treats back there. Thank you.